Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's Fake Accents Unite. I am joined, as always, by the ever-present Britisher. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, there. I was
And-
badly straining not to start talking instead of you and say good evening to the Cyberpass quiz, given the guest list we've got today.
I haven't actually shared the guest list. It's all come together rather last minute. But good evening, Sarah. Welcome. And Sarah needs to sort her microphone out. It's as simple as that.
Or Sarah cannot hear us, one or the other.
One or the other. I'm sure I'll get some information on that in a second. We're also going to be joined by Mr. Tailed Feature. So yes, we are in full Cyberpass quiz mode today. So yes, let me see what the chat's saying. Good evening, the eternal Britisher. A nice echo. Who is echoing? Is it me?
No. I cannot hear an echo. No,
I can't hear an echo either, and I've definitely got headphones in, and etc. And that sort of thing. So a bit of a crazy week this week in general.
Hello, folks.
Oh, good evening, Sarah. Welcome.
Thank you. How's it going?
Yeah, it's all seems to have relaxed. It's been a pretty rough week politically as well as personally. So.
Have you been enjoying your first couple of weeks at university life?
Don't tell people I'm at university, Sarah. It's private information. No, it's fine.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
It might be worth reducing Sarah's volume a bit. She seems to be coming in a lot louder than you are.
Oh,
very
classic.
well. Am I quite quiet? I mean, I don't know. Let me just.
To me, you sound fairly normal, but Sarah seems to be coming in quite loud.
Oh, really?
I'll just mute her. It's fine. I don't.
Is that my? Do I? Adjust?
No. I using the power of the control room, I can edit your
things. Editing suite there.
Basically, I can make you quiet. Nobody can hear an echo.
Power of Hangouts, yes.
I can in Hangouts, yes. I can't. There's no special slider to turn Sarah down in real life. No.
I was just thinking about how many people would love one of these tools.
What, to turn you down specifically? Is this something people tell you all the time?
My parents would love one of those.
Well, frankly, I mean,
like it for
wouldn't it be quite nice, to sort of, indulge in that little fantasy that you would kind of have a remote control with which you could walk around, and anybody who's annoying you, you could just turn them off.
That would be fun. But who would you turn off first?
Yes. Now that's asking. Yes. I mean, one of the questions, of course, would that also apply online, or would it just be in real life that you could just kind of point the remote at them and just kind of,
you can mute online. You can mute online. So I think real life, you'd have to.
I think it reminds me a great deal of a Black Mirror episode, if you've ever watched any of those. There's one where the new social media means that you can block whoever you want in real life, and they just appear as a pale outline of a person who you can't hear. But you know they're there, but you can't hear them, you don't see them, and so on and so forth. Really interesting.
Oh, we're live. Sorry, I didn't realise that.
We are live, yes, indeed. The chat is going. The chat is being lewd.
Well, there is always the possibility that sooner or later we'll all end up kind of wearing these kind of, 3D goggles, whereby we're kind of either in virtual reality or in what's it called, enhanced reality.
Goggles, Britisher. That you really are showing your age. It'll be contact lenses, won't it?
I was going to say.
What I mean is, so that basically you would be drifting everlastingly between reality and virtual reality, to the point where eventually it becomes blurred. If you know what I mean.
Well, do you remember
Matrix?
Well, do you remember a couple of years ago when Google tried the Google Glass experiment?
Yes.
Those were their sort of spectacles, weren't they? That didn't really.
It was sort of glasses, sort of not. But basically, it was a small glass block box that sat a little bit, basically in the top right or top left corner of your vision, and it would have little, it would have the date, etc. It was completely translucent. So it didn't block your vision at all, but it had the time and the date, and you could say things to it, and it would take pictures and stuff like that.
I do remember them. Kind of ugly looking, though.
Oh yes, it was horrendous, which is why the idea of enormous alternate reality goggles from the Britisher. Are you very steampunk Britisher? I mean, it would go well with your aesthetic as a brain in a jar with a gramophone to speak through.
A brain in a jar. He's still alive.
I'm still maintaining the fact that he's a brain in a jar. Other people are like, oh, he's this badass Time Lord.
Actually, that's not a bad theory. I think I buy into that too. Actually.
So I'm kind of Dave Lister from the future, am I?
Yes, indeed. Very good reference there. You know I'm a sucker for a Red Dwarf reference.
You guys get onto this every week.
What, Red Dwarf?
Which I applaud, but yes.
Yes, but it's a running gag. I didn't do it this week. He did it. That's what it is. But no, the Google Glass experiment was hilarious because I think it failed, one because it was far too expensive, and secondly because I think hackers managed to break them so that they were supposed to be very family friendly, right? They had very limited apps, and someone basically hacked them so that they would display pornography in the top right corner of your vision at all times.
You never leave your house.
Well, you could leave your house. The point was that you could leave your house, but but no, so they used to have things like the time and the weather and take photos and videos. But the idea of someone walking around and going, "Okay, Google Glass," like every time they want to take a photo.
But would it do you anything? What's the point of them being glasses? Like, I mean, would you look at someone and sort of in James Bond where it undresses you?
Well, the whole point was supposed to be, how do we augment your vision, right? So we augment your reality so that you have this thing, and it had to be a headset of sorts in order to get the the little glass thing in the corner of your vision. But it also had this thing where it would detect if you looked up at it. So if you flicked your eyes up to look at where the glass was, it would activate and it would listen to what you were saying.
Don't trust it
for commands, etc.
Well, I think one of the main problems there is to provide the person who's actually wearing the glasses with relevant information.
Yes.
That they can't just see themselves.
What can you actually give them? Above and beyond what they can actually already discern from what they're seeing. So
it was never meant to be a big change, but it was just supposed to be a sort of thing where you would never need to wear a watch because you could always just look up and there would be the time there floating in midair, etc.
So lazy.
For instance, or the weather, or you could ask Google some limited questions about your area, or you could eventually have sat nav and stuff like that. So it was able to.
But can you imagine? If every day you walk to work and every single day Google is giving you the same information on your way to work.
Well, you could turn it off.
This church was built in 1741.
Oh God!
Please, not again.
Oh, I don't think it was audible, but it would do. It would link to things like Google Maps. So if you told it to direct you somewhere, it would give you directions. You wouldn't see the map, but it would give you. Like the symbolism from a GPS.
I'd rather just do it on my phone and listen to it than wear the goggles. Unless it's going swimming.
They had a huge issue, as Silly Sailor says, because it gave awful migraines to a lot of people who used it. But much like VR does to a lot of people in general. So there you go.
I wonder if, especially...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I thought it was people kind of started feeling unwell as opposed to migraines. I thought, it was almost like seasickness, that they kind of got motion sickness from being in VR rather than getting headaches.
Yeah, a lot of people will be like that. But it's very strange that it happened, given that it was such a small introduction, which you could effectively only use when you wanted to use it. It faded to the point where you couldn't see it until you flicked your eyes up to that particular portion of your vision.
I think it's another one of those sort of wonderful examples whereby technology might be capable of doing things, but unless there is actually a need for it, basically you need to find a niche for the technology to be, useful. And if you haven't got that, then you can provide people with a tool, but it's like giving them a screwdriver, but there are no screws that need screwing in with that particular screwdriver. So you're just basically providing them with a kind of useless tool that has all sorts of functionality, but nobody needs.
Mm.
So I think, once one then kind of discovers some sort of uses for it, that's when suddenly I think something like that could come alive. But just the fact that it's out there, I think kind of, is at first kind of meaningless. You've got the technological potential, but it isn't a solution to anything.
Quite possibly. I'm sorry. I'm just. I'm looking at. There's a horrendous article that's just come to my attention, which Sarah will find interesting, called "White Women." So clearly,
that's me.
It is directed to you. Come get your people.
Come get your people. I didn't want him.
This is the New York Times, basically calling all white women evil harlots.
Well, that's true enough.
It wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that the majority of white women voted for Trump.
Oh, I doubt it. I very much doubt it. They wouldn't stoop to that level, would they, British? That would be ridiculous.
I would have.
Oh my goodness. And this brings us quite nicely onto I'll tell you what, I'll share my screen because that's going to be the easiest thing to do.
Oh, Lord.
So here we go. Share my screen, present to everyone, and here we are. So, white women, come get your people. They will defend their privilege to the death. This is by Alexis Grenell, who has written on gender and politics. I can only assume yes. Self-hating. I mean, these women look very angry for some reason.
Oh, well, the one on the right is the only woman I think who didn't vote for Kavanaugh.
I see.
The
one on the right in the sort of bluish dress looks like a kind of deer that is caught in the headlights of an oncoming truck that is about to flatten her.
She looks like she's wearing these glasses.
I do not know quite why so many people want her number, but it appears to be a thing.
Or, of course, they've all got one of those remotes and are trying to turn her off.
At least make it conspicuous.
So here we go. After a confirmation process where women all but slit their wrists, letting their stories of sexual trauma run like rivers of blood through the Capitol, the Senate's...
But rivers of blood.
I know. This is
second rivers of blood speech.
It sounds awfully familiar, doesn't it? The Senate still voted to confirm Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court because he isn't a sexual predator. He is not like in every conceivable.
Believe all women, Mark.
Due process, Sarah. With the exception of Lisa Murkowski, who has broken herself, all the women in the Republican conference caved to common sense, including Senator Susan Collins, who held out until the bitter end.
Stoic. Stunning and brave.
Dear. These women are gender traitors.
Oh, fuck off.
To borrow a term from The Handmaid's Tale. Can
I just interrupt you there and just ask you if a woman who does that is a gender traitor, what in your definition would therefore be a male gender traitor? What would you need to do to be a gender traitor to the male sex?
I believe they call them allies.
Well put.
Allies.
Allies to the Axis powers, is it?
Evidently. See, rivers of blood. It's a bit over the top. Believe women, yes. Looks legs, yes, indeed. Who is the bint who wrote this effing excuse? Yeah, I know. We haven't even started yet, mate. We haven't even started.
I'm excited.
And this is a relaxed stream, so we're just having a laugh about it. But yeah, they've made standing by the patriarchy a full-time job. This entire issue is not even a patriarchy related. I mean, there's a man involved who was cleared of a rape charge, who got told off for being who got basically.
Well, I mean, he wasn't cleared of a rape charge. He was never charged with anything.
Yes, exactly.
No, he was never charged.
Precisely.
And then of course,
and she's dropped all charges as well now.
And then what's her name? Ford. That's her name, isn't it?
Doctor.
Well, yes. Does she deserve to be a doctor? Dr. Ford basically said, "Oh yeah, now that he's been appointed, I'm not pursuing it any further." It's like,
that's funny.
If you sat there and you knew that someone who was a serial gang rapist, was in one of the highest positions in the world.
Sorry,
and
drunken serial gang
yes,
rapist.
drunken
And don't
serial
forget
gang
he threw ice as well.
rapist. Through ice.
Violent, drunken serial gang
Clearly.
rapist. Yes.
So yeah, you knew this person was there. You know that you have the backing of basically the entire Democratic side of America and the left in the support of your claim, and you're just going to let it die. I mean, I'm sorry, but if I knew that someone was there, that's a threat to, say, my kids, or for instance, if I had kids. So I would make it my life's ambition to get this person dethroned. Like it wouldn't factor in. You know, you can support yourself, etc. You know that this is
I think she's partially already had her revenge. She's seriously dented his life. She's literally made him cry in the Senate. So I think, she's more than likely had her pound of flesh, whether it actually ever happened or not, or whether it was him or not.
Maybe.
Because in the end, given that there is no evidence, because, where did it happen? When did it happen? If the answer to that are I don't know, you don't really stand much of a chance in a court.
Well, why did she keep going to the parties as well? I mean, was she waiting for her turn?
She knew it was going on.
Well, she said she'd been to 10 of them, and that's where it was happening.
Grief.
Anyway.
Yes.
Well, but then again, the fact that it would have happened to her merely would have meant that 3 other women were safe.
Indeed, that was her main argument. She can deal with it all. She's fighting the patriarchy, one gang sex session at a time.
No.
The show comment man says, ICE, a crime punishable by death. Yes.
Abolish ICE.
Ban assault ICE.
Abolish ICE, yes.
Yes.
That was good.
In fact, little do we know, Brett Kavanaugh was standing up for immigrants long before it was fashionable.
But then again, in a way, just coming to think of it, we are abolishing ICE.
Can you imagine if it becomes
global warming?
Oh, very good, very good.
Can you imagine if we end up creating a meme whereby people literally throw ice at leftists because it's just. So why don't you just throw ice at them because they hate ice so much?
How else do you defeat snowflakes? I mean,
you fight ice with ice, clearly.
I'd probably fight them with fire myself, but saying.
Magna Carta says, great rant the other day. I assume you're talking about what I released yesterday. That video is the reason why there was not so newsworthy this week. One of the reasons. I was so incensed by that particular topic that
I still need to watch it.
It completely threw me. It's done quite well, actually. I think it's got 1,500 views or something. But yeah, horrendous, absolutely horrendous situation.
Oh, that's loads, yeah.
But there we go.
Wait, are you talking about the question time video?
Yeah, the question time video. Oh my goodness. I would bring it up here, but I've already made a video on it, and I don't want to go back because it's so bad.
Don't open that wound again.
I got so angry. I was so angry.
I could tell.
And I thought I kept my cool pretty well in it, and everyone was like, "Oh, I really love an incensed NSO." I'm going. I tried not to be too incensed, but there you go. Back to the gender traitors.
Sorry.
The women who support these gender traitors show up at the Capitol showing Women for Kavanaugh t-shirts, but also probably tell their daughters to put on less revealing clothes when they go out.
That's so conservative. That's so true.
But it's so...
I'm not even ashamed of it.
Yeah, but it's also so snidey a comment. It's like saying that that's a bad thing.
Like,
just generally.
Looking at them.
It's like, oh, for a group of people who absolutely love to extol the modesty of the hijab, they're really not fans of others telling others to be modest, are they? Dear.
I mean, what precisely is the objection that she wasn't believed? I mean, my understanding was that the entire eyes of the globe were on her. Thousands of dollars spent broadcasting her story.
Millions.
I mean, what about the 6 women that Bill Clinton raped? I don't think they got a hearing, did they?
Nope.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, I mean, sorry, but just for pointing this out, allegedly raped. I mean, if we are doubtful,
believe women.
If we are doubtful towards Brett Kavanaugh being a rapist, I think we more than likely have to also extend the benefit of the doubt towards Bill Clinton.
Quite. My point, however, being, I mean, this is a political move, of course, but what is it they're trying to achieve? Is it that they wanted to delay him becoming?
They didn't want. They didn't want him in the Supreme Court at all.
But
essentially, what they were trying to do is, I mean, either by rejecting him and a new candidate having to be found, or by delaying him for long enough.
Right. Yes.
So that the midterm elections come up.
Because the timing is awfully.
That's it.
Coincidental.
They were gambling on the fact that they might be able to win the House in the midterm elections, and then they would be able to block any conservative judge being, moved into the Supreme Court.
But
they've so transparent.
They've shot themselves in the face at this point, though. That was like shooting yourself in the foot, but worse, because I
mean, what I just basically look at with this hysteria, and I mean, it is hysteria. I mean, when you've got, what was he called, Senator Flake, the Republican.
Jeff Flake.
You've got him kind of cornered in a lift with a woman wailing at him.
Indeed.
Oh yeah, that it's like, do you not think we're people and stuff like that? It's like, no, I do, but I also believe in due process.
But
also believe in due process.
This is a situation that you kind of look at this and you go, okay, look, it clearly this is a step too far. No matter what happened 36 years ago, we can't, we cannot really take this seriously. So even if it really happened, there is no way this can be proven or whatever, and we have to kind of stick to due process. So it was a complete hysterical overreaction to a situation that was fairly clear from the outset. So now comes the question, if this is what they do with something that is actually fairly clear and people shouldn't really be getting that excited about, given that it's fairly clear where this is going, what actually will they do when something truly outrageous does happen?
We knew what they do. They have nothing to say about it, typically.
If this is where they are now, how can you increase on the outrage? How can you actually kind of go beyond this? And that's where you just sort of think, surely you kind of have to keep some of your powder dry so that you have got something in reserve should something properly
it's a very good point.
happen. Plus, at the same time, I think it was, what was it? Was it Lindsey Graham or whatever? Is that
yes, we're coming
the one with the southern accent.
Yeah,
he's got an absolute stone balls right now.
He's told him to grow up.
At one point, he got quite angry. I remember at the hearing.
Yes.
And I did have some sympathy with that, because he was kind of pointing to the Constitution, saying, look, I'm sorry, but we have to protect the Constitution here. Because think of it. I mean, think of it. They do need Supreme Court judges. They need them. Without Supreme Court judges, this doesn't work. Now, we are now at the stage. I mean, let's not just pretend that the Republicans are complete angels in this. I believe they blocked a vacant position for some time when Obama was in power. So they've been playing games with this too. But if the situation is now, and let's face it, the Republicans will learn from this just as much. I mean, don't think that this will now just be a Democrat disease. And you look at it and you just go, if you now accuse somebody who is the candidate for the Supreme Court of rape, if this is okay, if you can do this, and to the point where just 50% of the country will just blindly condemn you simply because the word rape has been uttered, where do you go from there? And that's where you kind of really have to worry for the whole system, because who is the next person who is going to want to be accused of rape, and is that really where they are going to finish? I mean, is that where they draw the line, or is the next one going to be accused of paedophilia?
Yes, who knows?
And that's, and irrespective of which side is actually making the accusations. I mean, I don't for one moment think the Republicans will be just, above and beyond bringing such allegations against a Republican, candidate if they see fit now, because effectively the gloves are off now. Everyone will be playing equally dirty.
Thank you for keeping the tone light, Britisher.
Well, no, it's just you look at it and you just go, where does this,
Yeah, where do we go from here? Because
where do you actually find any future candidates? Because one thing you have to consider that in order to become a candidate for Supreme Court judge,
you need to have an exemplary record.
You've been a lawyer, you've been in the law all your life. So you've been a lawyer, then you've become a judge. You're more than likely, you're already a federal judge of sorts or something like that. So I think we can assume you are by now already a millionaire, if not a multimillionaire.
Did you just assume his financial status?
Welcome, Mr. Tail Feature.
Hello there. So, financially speaking, these people don't need this job. So this is something they'll volunteer for.
Yes.
So who's going to volunteer for it if it means that they're a paedophile? Do you understand what I mean?
Mm.
And therefore, there is a serious threat to the system itself. That if you basically make it so hostile that nobody is actually willing to come forward anymore.
And who is going to do it?
Yeah.
Mind you, it might be an easy way of reading out the pedos and the perverts, but
maybe, yes, they're definitely not going to apply.
I'd rather that wasn't dredged up, yeah.
But they would then, they might then apply all the more, because in that case,
possibly, good point.
Then they are truthfully accused of paedophilia.
Yeah, that's true.
That party which has nominated them will then just deliberately disregard it and not believe.
Very good point. Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yeah, sorry it took so long to actually say anything. I couldn't get a word in edgeways.
Yeah,
I can tell you were waiting to politely edge away in. Which isn't like you.
I'm drinking a cup of tea as well.
Am I being heckled here by the gentleman with the Bulgarian accent?
I'll allow it. Going back to the article, Lindsey Graham in particular, whose response to a woman telling him she was raped was, "I'm sorry about that. Call the cops." It's just like,
what do you say? I mean, it's good advice.
I love that. He also Binary Surfers pointed out, and he's great on this. He said, they said, why don't you make him take a polygraph test about Kavanaugh? To which Graham responded, "Why don't we dunk him in water and see what happens?" Just absolutely brilliant. So yeah, he's got this. These are the kind of women, these gender traitors who think that being falsely accused of rape is almost as bad as being raped.
What?
And I'm going,
it's not great. I mean,
I'm going, now, rape destroys lives, right? And false accusations of rape also destroy lives. Just because they destroy lives in slightly different ways to one another doesn't mean that you can call a comparison. But the idea, like, as soon as a man is accused of rape in general, right, that's his life over, his social life, because he's got, 2 years to go through the courts properly. I mean, this whole nominee thing was rushed because
this will hang over him forever, undoubtedly.
It will hang over him forever. But most people who aren't a Supreme Court nominee who get falsely accused of rape, even if they're cleared, well, the media, particularly local media, will report the rape case, but they won't report the outcome of the rape case because it takes ages. And at the end of it all, if there's no furore about anything, he's either been jailed or he's been cleared, and they don't really care about that. So you get people who've been cleared who, their entire lives are destroyed. Everyone around them who hasn't followed the case believes they are a rapist because, in rape cases, it's all very guilty until proven innocent, etc. So, I mean, it's very damaging to people. And I'm not saying it happens as frequently as actual rapes happen. Like, you can't, but even then you don't want to make the comparison. Like, to be falsely accused of rape is horrendous.
Well, I do find it interesting that they've done everything they can to obfuscate, downplay, and deny all other situations of rape that we've seen across Europe, for instance. Very selective.
the kind of like, so this article being even more passive aggressive, the kind of women who agree with President Trump that it's a very scary time for young men in America, which he said in a news conference on Tuesday. Well, I mean, if you're talking about like, even if we go off not rape, like young men are the most likely to be victims of violence, of crime, of theft, etc. Because of our very narrow definition of rape, we don't know how often men are raped. We are victims
if they're in prison.
Yeah, exactly. Prison rape, etc. I mean, nearly 50% of domestic abuse. I mean, why wouldn't it be a scary time for young men in America, just generally speaking, honestly?
Really? 50% of abuse?
40,
abuse?
It's about 43% at last week. But it doesn't get reported on. It's not a gendered issue, domestic abuse. Interesting.
Oh.
But the people who scare me the most are the mothers, sisters, and wives of those young men, because my stupid uterus still holds out some insane hope of solidarity. We're talking
transphobic.
We're talking about white women, the same 53% who put their racial privilege ahead of their second-class gender in 2016 by voting to uphold a system that values only their whiteness, just as they have for decades.
What about all the black women that voted for Trump?
They don't. Oh, they don't exist because if you're a black,
it's the reason the New York Times has published this, because this article won this year's Bitterness Award.
I love that. Please stand by me. Please stand by in chat has said my stupid uterus and its wishes.
Get rid of it.
You've heard that men have two brains, right? Do women have two brains as well? Does the uterus have a mind of its own?
Do they have any brains?
Men.
No, women.
No, women. You tell me, you're one.
Well, I'll let you know when I find it.
The Harry Channel has donated $10. Thank you very much, and said a secondary motive was to make the prospect of nominating another man so unpalatable that only women would be nominated going forward. Also, I admire Christianity's concept of redemption. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. I love that they've made it a race thing now, and I love that like Trump is clearly very he's only pro-white. It's not like he's pro-American and American is not white.
I just had a thought, when it was just said, from now on only women will be nominated. You can see the next nominee for Supreme Court will be kind of, a clone of Brett Kavanaugh, but with a tiara.
I am female Kavanaugh. There we go.
Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh.
Brenda Kavanaugh.
Brenda Kavanaugh. Oh, God. Women of color make the margin difference for Democrats. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to go to...
Specifically black women.
Black women. It's just the New York Times going on a full slander game.
What did Diamond and Silk going to say about this?
I just guess that it's what Diamond and Silk going to say about this.
My girls.
Oh, God. I've only seen them once because you showed them to me.
You've not watched them since.
And if anyone doesn't know who Diamond and Silk are, you need to go look them up immediately.
Go and look up Bowl of Stupid. Yeah.
Basically, they're very funny, very loud women. So there you go. But yeah, basically, but you just wonder, one by one, every single news outlet that you think is reputable will have an article like this where you just go, what the hell is going on? But I didn't originally intend to go on this one because it's a bit dark. But we do have this, which is Trump, who's making the statement that Kavanaugh's sex assault claims were all made up. Just straight out saying it's a hoax and all made up because he's made up his mind on that now. He said, so I've been hearing now they're thinking about impeaching him. Kavanaugh, this is a man that did nothing wrong, caught up in a hoax that was set up by Democrats using Democrat lawyers, and now they want to impeach him. It's an insult to the American public.
I can see it happening that they start sort of these procedures to impeach him on the very same day. Various random women just come to the fore and make completely baseless accusations about every single Supreme Court justice that has been nominated by a Democrat.
Just you can imagine it. I can see it happening. That's the trouble. But Trump said, the American public has seen this charade, has seen the dishonesty by the Democrats. he said the Conservative, he continues complimenting him, saying it was all made up, it was fabricated, it was a disgrace, and then predicted the Democrats would lose, as he will do, which will shape the remainder of his presidency. He called Christine Ford a compelling witness, but later questioned her credibility and then mocked her at a rally. Interestingly, since Kavanaugh got appointed, and did you watch the voting, Britisher or anyone else?
Mm-hmm.
Where there was that that invited guest who started yelling shame, as if a room full of legal experts are going to give a damn about the word shame. But here's Mr. Trump's 69th judicial appointment since becoming president. And he was sworn in on Saturday evening at a private thing. He has followed up on his pledge, which he made back in July, before all of this happened, to hire women to serve as his law clerks, becoming the first justice to have an all-female staff. Clerks, I'm sorry. I am
let's not go all American.
So sorry.
Clerks.
I was in American mode. I was reading Trump. What can I say? I just had a moment. At least I didn't use the word Z this time.
Yes.
Horrendous.
Yes.
Yes. But I love the fact that they've attacked this man specifically when he is one of the men who is doing more to, hire more women into the profession than any other Supreme Court justice.
Not the right kind of women, there, Mark. They're conservative women.
Conservative women.
Yes,
oh, and clerks clearly can't go anywhere from clerkship, so he's keeping them down in low-paid clerk positions, which are very well paid. And it's an all-female staff as well, which doesn't bode well, really, for again. You think back to Christine Ford, right?
Well, no doubt he'll have them all tied to the radiator.
Yeah, exactly.
While he has kegs of beer done.
Where can I get a job?
Exactly. I was going to say, he's got this whole thing where he's being accused of being a gang rapist, and his entire staff are female.
Oh Lord!
And it's like, I can't be a gang rapist if I'm the only rapist in the building.
Winning, is there?
Is that the thing? It's just absolutely horrendous. And then Professor Ford, who has been unable to move back home because of unending death threats.
Yikes.
Which I don't laugh at, because death threats are never cool. I didn't mean to. I'm laughing in general, right? I'm amused. But I just go, nobody deserves, most people don't deserve death threats. But, I just think you have made your bed, and you're going to have to lay in it. It's going to be quite some time before they're able to live at home, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, mainly as well, she's back down as well, so she'll be getting death threats from the Democrats as well now, because she's not going to be doing anything. And so on and so forth. But that's Kavanaugh. But some people are still pushing forward to make more FBI investigation stuff clear. Again, the man is having his 7th FBI investigation was into him? This time?
Yes. He's already had 6.
Something like that?
Yes.
These investigations, which they claimed weren't very thorough, by the way, are the kinds of things where they find out what you posted on an anonymous chat room when you were 15 years old using your mate's computer, right?
I'm never getting into politics.
That's how in-depth these investigations go. And they're complaining that this last one wasn't as in-depth. I'm like, they have his entire life history on file at this point, right? There's nothing he's done that they don't know. Absolutely nothing. And you just think...
I still thought one should have stuck by my suggestion that every senator who was asking for an investigation should have at the same time also been investigated.
Ooh, that would have been interesting, wouldn't it? That would have been interesting.
And then we suddenly see whether, what is good enough for the goose is good enough for the gander or not.
See who throws the first stone.
Indeed. The chat's going a bit wild. I have no idea exactly what to do. Only most... Remember the praises they sang about the FBI when it came to investigating Russia. Whereas now indeed. And the whole collusion thing. And now, of course, they're worthless people who are all on the payroll and that sort of thing. Also, Diane Feinstein says binary server employed a Chinese spy for over 2 years. Oops.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they should have investigated all of them. Absolutely
Well,
ridiculous.
someone get hold of that Chinese spy and see whether he he was sexually molested or not.
You just assumed the Chinese spy's gender.
I mean, just tell him. Well, yeah, sorry, yes, of
Doesn't
course.
care, tell Filcher.
Just tell the poor man or the poor woman, or I mean, or even a non-binary person. Just tell that person. I'll just assume now that it is a him.
Otherkin.
For the matter of
Otherkin. Worm.
tell that particular person that one will bring him back to the USA to live.
Flake452 says
identify as a
he didn't identify as a spy.
Basically sent him back to China.
He didn't identify as a spy though, Britisher.
Spiking.
Spy. Yes, I like that.
Oh, I like it. Oh god, let's move on from Kavanaugh. I mean, it's been done to death at this point. And I'm sick.
I do.
Well, I think
I do have a song coming out later on tonight. Hopefully, if I finish it. About Kavanaugh.
Ooh.
It's basically a love song from Ford to Kavanaugh, because actually she's my version of events is that actually she likes being choked.
she's actually his stalker. She just took it to a different level.
She actually enjoyed the encounter that she had in 1982, but
Wow.
since then she's just been obsessed with him.
For those of you who don't know, Tailed Feature is an edgelord who wrote Count Dankula's theme music, and you should subscribe to him if you haven't already. He produces parody songs and stuff like that, so it's all good. There you go. Is that enough of a shill for you, mate?
Thanks. The check's in the post.
What check? You don't get paid. Show Comment Man, who's been trying to get you to sing on stream, says, "Can we have a preview, please?"
No.
Yeah,
No,
have to wait.
Yeah, you'll recognize the song, because this one's actually I've just taken another melody from a song and just used that. Basically, I didn't actually have to write anything except new words.
Excellent. So, have we heard about the Grievance studies scandal?
Yes.
I know anyone who's anywhere near a university should have. And other than that, those of us in the know. So, these are the three people who did this study, which I just find fascinating. But I love just the topics that they chose. You can tell how much fun they had with it, can't you? You can just tell this is a laugh that we can get paid for, and we can write this stuff out. The article on dog rape culture.
I remember that, dog parks.
Right, that's one of the worst ones. But there's another one, which is a paper on challenging male homophobia using anal sex toys. Basically,
if I'm not mistaken, it was the one on the dog rape that, in a way, collapsed them, wasn't it? Because it attracted too much attention, and then people started asking questions.
Yes, I believe so. Oh no, there was the one which they didn't get questioned on, which was the one about chaining white men at the front and having them sit down in silence.
Yep.
Which got rejected by the journal because its punishments for privilege were not harsh enough.
A lot of them nearly got accepted. They just had to be revised a little bit. That was the other thing. So even though they managed to get 7 published, if they'd revised a few, they probably would have got more.
Wasn't there some kind of fat bodybuilding?
I can't remember.
I believe there was some kind of, obesity body contest.
Right.
Yeah. So as I say, they came up with some absolute howlers. You just wonder, how is it possible that nobody basically kind of sits back and goes, "Are you serious?"
And there was the one which was a rewrite of Mein Kampf, of course.
Yes.
He literally rewrote one of the chapters of Mein Kampf into a feminist theory.
Yeah, they basically just changed Jews to white men, and
that was it. Yeah,
that was basically it. Yeah,
I got it there. And so this has been done by a mathematician, a British writer, and a philosophy professor. You wonder, like, at what point Oh, sorry. I still have the subscription sound set to Britisher saying full penetrative sex. And it goes off in my ear privately, like every time I get a subscriber. And I think I'm being interrupted by the word full. And then the rest of it plays. And I go, no, it's just a subscription.
You have full penetrative sex in your ear.
Yeah, every day.
I worry about you sometimes.
I worry about
of us?
You said it. I just need to. I keep meaning to change the bloody sound effect, but it's still. I can't remember how the setting is. Anyway, but you wonder to what extent these people have kind of killed their ability. Well, I don't know. Like, there's no publicity is bad publicity, right? But you wonder now how wary people will be of anything they produce in future, just generally.
That's good.
Think. They're detractors of
in fairness, the journals they were quite suspect journals to begin with.
But they were quite popular.
Well, in certain circles, yes.
Yes. This article, which is by Inquillet, is a bit different to the general rundown of what happened, basically. But it's addressing the criticisms of and talking about what caused them to come up with the whole grievance studies thing in the beginning, which I think is quite interesting. So we can go through that. But they basically looked at critical race theory, intersectionality, post-colonial studies, and queer theory. I love that it just means strange theory. Like, the word queer just means strange.
So post-colonial studies will no doubt in future be known as the studies of the crimes of Melania Trump.
She look great.
Path studies.
Path studies.
But these guys were all on Twitter and basically just for a laugh going over it and trying to work out how to describe these groups of people they hated. And they were like, if you just say gender studies, you leave out critical race theory and all that jazz. There was no succinct way to name these things en masse, so I called it grievance studies, and it was appropriate to uphold for the project. And it gives the clarity that they're starting from the assumption of a power imbalance, which I think is quite telling. Like, that's very accurate. And they call critical constructivism. Now, as someone who's learning sort of university level psychology at the moment, you get told to think critically all the time. And constructivism, which is looking at the idea that everything is a social construct. And but they're not critiquing social constructs. They are basically calling everything a social construct. So it's an inaccurate statement to call what they're doing critical constructivism. It's like uncritical constructivism.
So it's critical within certain parameters, essentially.
It's a very strange definition.
We just lost the Britisher, by the way.
Is he gone? Oh,
he's disappeared. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Dear. I do hope he's okay, and he probably needs to recharge his brain, to be honest. But I'm sure he'll be back in a moment.
There we go. Welcome back, sir.
Hello there. Yeah, I just got chucked somehow.
You wonder, they're after you, you know. They've denied you monetization, and now they want your jar. So they're coming after you. They've heard that you were successful on Sargon's channel, and they think it's very suspect.
Would that be the jam jar they want?
The jam jar.
Sorry, yeah, that was the week that was reference. You'll be all the wiser once you've seen it.
Oh, is that?
I have seen it, and I can't really remember what that's in reference to.
It's because you don't.
Libyan People's Republic.
Oh yeah.
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
We all know that nobody listens to the week that was for the news. We listen to it for British's buttery voice, which helps send us to sleep. It's as simple as that. And he knows that he's audible chocolate, so we'll leave it at that.
Says the person with the second most preposterous accent on the internet. Yes.
Second most preposterous. I'll have you know mine is dozens of times more preposterous than yours, sir. But it's nowhere near as preposterous as Tailed Features.
Agreed.
It's real.
Oh.
In fact, you're a disgrace to this show. Put on your fake accent immediately. You've got a fake face, a fake hat. The least you could do is have a fake voice as well.
Right enough.
This is where we find out you're actually from South Wales, and it really is a fake voice.
No, my real voice is like, hello.
Oh, that's you, Del Filcher.
I'm more like Leslie Phillips.
Oh my god. Oh dear. Do you know what?
When it comes to Leslie Phillips, the one thing I always point out with Leslie Phillips is Leslie Phillips managed to, in a way, do the same sound as Terry Thomas, but he just changed the words ever so slightly. And Terry Thomas would basically see a rather scrumptious young lady walking by and would go, "I say." Whereas Leslie Phillips would go, "Ding,
Ding
dong." It was the art of absolutely saying nothing and yet everybody knowing exactly what was meant. Yes. Please do carry on.
I'm just going through this because I want to get through most of the jargon and pick out the funny bits as much as anything. Like, I love that they're saying, "Oh, are you uncomfortable that many of your vocal supporters right now are on the political right?" At least they haven't said this is Quillette, and so they're a bit more reasonable on average. So at least they didn't say on the alt-right, right? But said, I don't have a problem with them being on the right. I try to say that this person is centrist or left or whatever. But it's this one which says, where's it gone? Yes, our main objective isn't to forward a political agenda, it's to make scholarship more rigorous. It's not doing social justice causes any favour to be shoddy and inconsistent. Yeah. And it's just like, yes, somebody finally said it, and they're not actually being shouted down for it. But this is quite funny, right? The Journal of Poetry Therapy is a thing.
Oh, that's not the joke, though.
Here's the thing. It's by no means big. But qualifying how big or small a journal is, I'll tell you what, it's not how big your journal is, it's what you do with it. It's difficult because they're in disciplines that are subdivided into subdisciplines. No one can deny that sex roles and Hypatia are serious journals. Gender, Place and Culture, a journal of feminist geography.
Oh, yes.
It's the leading feminist geography journal. How can you have feminist geography?
Well,
feminist glaciology.
Yeah, we had glaciology before.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just... is that talking about how frigid they are, or what?
The feminized landscape? It's something to do with the way that place and sexuality are intimately bound. Some such.
Is this how you talk about the soft rolling hills rather than the sharp craggy mountains?
Are you sure you've not studied these courses? It's something to do with the way that men have historically, colonized the landscape. Something like that.
Well, it's the way that sort of science in general and any area of study is patriarchal, and it's because it was mostly men that were involved in creating it. So they've got their own version of glaciology, geography, where they just basically make shit up and make it all postmodern and nonsense.
It will just become Turkmenistan.
Turkmenistan. Amazing. God.
How long have you been waiting to use that pun?
It's really bad.
It's like he's been waiting 5 years to find the perfect time
to call it 84 years.
There you go. Oxbow Lakes are definitely feminist.
Turkmenistan.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out why Oxbow Lakes are feminist. Is it because if you cut them off, they never finish? Joan Everton says, no, I'm not reading that out. I like that the Jedster as well has completely undercut the subtlety of the joke I was trying to make by saying mountains are in fact breasts.
Unless they're small and humble.
Feminist geography mistakes Great Britain for the Middle East. It's all quite possible, isn't it?
How could you not have seen that one?
I enjoyed that.
Me too.
Feminists properly hold maps upside down, so they do see the West as the Middle East. Interesting. But there we go. That's the general thing. But now, of course, the main event of the evening, which I'm sure you've all been looking forward to. And I like the fact that someone said, so I sent on Twitter before this stream, I said, look, does anyone have anything that they'd like us to talk about fake accents? You know, I got in quite late this evening. I was like, I haven't really thought about it. I'll, you know, see if there's some extra stuff. I'll look for some stuff myself. But if there's anything that people really want me to talk about, I'll have a look. And the thing that people most wanted me to talk about, sandwiches. Because apparently that's something that they want us to talk about.
Hawaii.
Maybe you have a very keen sense of sandwich etiquette, Britisher. Who knows? Which led me, of course, because I've got to make this fun, right? If you just search sandwiches, it's the most boring thing in the world. For a start, it's a dozen American articles on bastardized versions of sandwiches from the get-go. So it led to me to the fact that I had to search controversial sandwiches on Google in order to find controversial sandwiches on Google in order to find some stuff. So
at least it wasn't feminist sandwiches,
at least
which is what sandwiches should be made by.
That's perhaps where he's about to go with this.
Maybe. So that's where women should be.
I hadn't considered it, but you know, this is the sort of thing you get if you just generally search for sandwiches, which is just, you know.
Well, I noticed that Sarah has just left. Maybe she's going to make us sandwiches.
Oh, you'd like that, wouldn't you?
I would.
So the you know, just general sandwich articles, which I can't be doing with. So that's different. That's a different issue. That'll be for later. GCSE book pulled after stereotyping Caribbean dads as largely absent. Maybe I'll do that. But we've got this one. 9 BT have released this article. This is how far I'm trawling for the sandwich topic. Thank you very much, audience. 9 controversial sandwiches ideas that you have to try. I think we'll be the judge of that, don't you think? So here we go. Honey and cheese. Have you ever had a honey and cheese sandwich, Britisher?
I can't say I have.
It's one of the most...
That's not even a sandwich. What the fuck is that?
That does not... Is that like a quarter of a loaf of bread with some nuts in the middle of it? Is that sugar?
Is that even bread, or is that brioche?
I think it is actually bread. I mean, it does look...
It's a loaf of bread with the middle scooped out.
Oh, I mean...
Who eats a sandwich with a fork?
These people... I mean, this person's clearly enjoyed making this sandwich a bit too much, but I just don't understand why you would make a sandwich like these people, starting from the get-go, have forgotten how to make a sandwich just on the principle of what constitutes sandwich. But there we go. Forget your standard ham and crisp, peanut butter and jam. I mean, the fact that they've included that as a real option here is disgusting.
Ham and crisp?
Have you never had
just
a ham
one
and crisp or a crisp sandwich?
Crisp?
Like just generally a crisp sandwich. That's a British staple. I mean, come on.
Of course not.
Tuna and cheese combos. Some people like to get really creative. Just because I wasn't raised with a platinum spoon in my mouth, Britisher, doesn't mean that I can't enjoy a crisp sandwich every now and again.
Crisp sandwiches are good.
They are good, yes.
Well, I had you more down as the salt of the earth pork scratchings kind of person.
Wait, what?
There was such a thing as a crisp sandwich.
What, between bread or?
Oh, welcome back, Sarah.
Hello.
You made it back. Did you make us sandwiches?
That's what I was hoping for.
That's what Tailed Feature was asking.
That was quick of me.
That's what I demand.
It's very aggressive. You know,
I'm sorry, hang on. I'm going to try and come out.
What sort of meat would you want in the sandwich? Would it by any chance be roast rabbit?
Hey, no.
My mind went somewhere.
Yeah, of course. It's no wonder you're alone, Tailed Feature.
I don't want to be in a sandwich.
Everyone wants a British sandwich.
No, Sarah wants to be in a Tailed Feature Britisher sandwich. She wants to be in the meat in that sandwich.
Why did you get very loud as soon as you said that? I'm very uncomfortable.
I'm uncomfortable with this.
You basically was like, Sarah just wants to be the meat in a Tailed Feature and Britisher sandwich. Just like, oh,
It
my.
needed emphasis. It needed emphasis.
Is this where I say, moving on?
Moving on.
This is where you say ding dong.
Yes, Britisher, also known as Jess Phillips.
Jess Phillips.
The next, oh yeah, that's not what I'm thinking of. Leslie Phillips. Yeah, Jess
a Freudian slip if I ever heard one.
Jess Phillips isn't known for saying ding dong.
No.
I mean, Sargon tried to elicit it once.
Not in public, I mean.
This is the thing. Tesco have released the Lasandwich.
Ooh.
That looks vile.
That's horrible.
Looks horrendous
That looks vile.
Terrible.
for the low price of £2.
Oh, Lord.
Absolutely. Well, if it's on offer, there's nothing wrong with an even more Italian take on an American sloppy Joe, but the combination of jarred mince and white sauce on flimsy white bread doesn't quite have the same appeal.
Well, if it's on offer, I love that line.
Oh dear. Peanut butter and some. That's not a sandwich.
Let's see.
That is not a sandwich.
It's an open sandwich.
Artisanal sandwiches.
Artisan.
That is a peanut butter base with tomato and pepper on top, by the looks of things.
Is it crunchy or smooth, though?
I have
What's wrong with
the Britisher is turning. His jar is spinning. Just when the water starts to bubble and steam, we know he's angry. But this is from Meal Makeover Mums.
Oh dear, some poor child.
At least it looks pretty. It's like, this is the sort of thing where you bite into it expecting something nice and you just have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, it could work.
I just don't. I'm not a massive fan of peanut butter.
That's not even bread.
It's like, no, it's like one of those
muffin,
breakfast.
English muffin.
Yeah, English muffin.
There's nothing English about them.
Where do they? Yes, exactly. I was watching or listening to rather, because it's all on audio. Flanders and Swan the other week, because I adore Flanders and Swan, and they were basically saying, "Oh, we love going into America. You can have all these lovely foods that you can't get in Britain, like English muffins with your breakfast." I mean, it's very old. If you don't know Flanders and Swan, it's a very old comedy sketch.
I'm sure the British was around at the time.
The British will know them back to front, I'm sure. But they do a phenomenal, sort of trilogy of shows, and they did a load of funny animal songs and all sorts. Anyway, you should check them out. I'm quite enamored, and I'll stop talking now.
Plenty of the material on YouTube. They are very funny.
They are very funny. If you're very much into British light comedy, and it's all done to music as well a lot of the time. So here we go. The sweet fresh tomato complements the heavy salty peanut butter, but altogether it makes for a pretty slim slimy sarnie. Ugh. Ugh. Just bulk. I bulk at the underground.
I think you're bulking rather than bulking.
It's bulk, not bulk.
B-A-L-K to bulk.
No, I'm bulk. B-O-A-K. It means to.
Oh, A-K.
Yeah, or B-O-K-E.
K-E.
I don't think there's really a spelling of it because it's just slang.
What does it mean? Sorry.
Vomit.
I see.
It means to retch.
Whereas B-A-L-K to bulk.
Yes.
So there you go.
Our fake accents are just too disparate.
I'd say it's very. Don't you use big words like disparate on my streams?
Indubitably.
Elementary, my dear Watson. A sugar sandwich is next. Ooh. That's a cake. That is a cake.
Let's see.
Yeah.
With the thing.
What is that leaf?
I assume it is mint.
Decorative mint.
Get that green shit off my sandwich.
None of that rabbit food, is that it?
Yeah.
If you've never chowed down on a white bread and sugar sandwich as a kid, then your parents certainly did. Did you chow down on white bread and sugar sandwiches?
It does sound like something you'd get while rationing was a thing.
What, when sugar was the most difficult thing to get hold of?
Well, they probably used other things instead.
Well, you know those boomers rolling in their sugar after the war ended.
True enough. I feel like actually my grandfather used to eat sugar sandwiches. He told me that, so I don't know what I'm laughing at.
Bread and dripping. That was the other one that my gran used to say.
Sounds disgusting.
I just still maintain that it is cake.
It looks. It
does look like a sponge cake.
It doesn't help with the raspberry on top and the
mint.
Well,
this is where we find out it's a
pick.
What's that stuff on the left?
Already basically.
Yes. I love that it's really like the artisanal cake with the raspberry and the mint, and it's on a paper plate, and you can see it's on a paper plate.
You snub.
But it's just like, let's be all really posh and present this really lovingly.
That's exactly how I'm a rubbish cook, but I always put a little bit of a leaf on top to make it look, posh.
When you run out of mint, it'll become a bay leaf because
just put a bloody nettle on it while you're doing it.
You know what?
It's a sugar sandwich, but with a fucking mint leaf and the raspberry on it.
That's it.
There's more than sugar on that, and it's not even a fucking sandwich.
I love how
angry you are.
I love how what
you have to do is you have to sell it as haute cuisine.
It's not nouvelle cuisine. What's the difference?
It's basically a sandwich en sucre. And then like that, you can then charge the world for it.
There was a guy that
if you can get one of the Kardashians to eat it, then all the better.
Preferably off her backside.
There was a guy, this old guy that I knew, and he said, "Oh, I once went to this ceremonial dinner thing because I won some, long service award or something at his work." And I said, "Oh, right, yeah." And he went, "Oh, the meal was horrific." I said, "What did you get?" And he went, "Oh, it was that nouvelle cuisine. I could put it in my E, as in I could put it in my eye. It was that small." And he had to have a fish supper on the way home.
Oh, so Scottish.
Here's a comment.
Again, I'd say in Scotland, they wouldn't just serve it as a sandwich, wouldn't they? They would have the piping in of the sandwich.
Oh, I'd love that.
Only on the 25th of January.
Here's a comment directly for Sarah. It says, "Oh no, this pasta is ruined. Quick, throw coriander onto it. Chanel."
Only when I have guests. Only when I have guests, and I try to do it sort of posh, so it looks, maybe just add some sort of curio on the plate.
A curio.
Feature, please.
You're the kind of person who adds, like icing sugar to a dish that doesn't need
absolutely.
icing.
Soup, yeah.
To just try and make it look
absolutely. So in the presentation.
Silly says deep fried sugar sandwich. Is that a thing tailed feature?
I'd give that a go.
They do have deep fried cream eggs. That's the last time I was in Edinburgh.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Scottish for sugar sandwich, isn't it?
That's so disgusting.
See, basically, what you can do here is you go into a chip shop, and they've got the row of sweets like on a shelf in front of you, and you can just pick whatever you want, and they'll just deep fry it for you.
Sweeties, really?
So yeah, I remember someone in front of me ordering a deep fried Galaxy caramel.
That's disgusting. Where is this? I need to visit just to
This sounds horrific.
I want to people watch.
Okay.
Sarah would be like, "I'll try one deep fried Smartie."
Can you do
what is the kind of the ultimate dare? What is the thing that one cannot deep fry that isn't sweet?
Licorice, all sorts.
Individually,
all sorts. Surely must be that must be kind of the ultimate hardcore test, mustn't it?
Well,
I don't know. Surely not.
Americans managed to deep fry butter, so.
Does it have a sort of crispy edge, or is it just served as a kind of jus?
Jus. It's more like a sorbet.
Is that an echo quotes?
I've been watching MasterChef this week.
Yes, I just thought there's someone here who's watched MasterChef just once too often.
I'm a fan. I'm a big fan.
Once is once too often.
What will you have with this? I'll have the deep fried coulis, please.
Oh, coulis! That's a classic one. Coulis. Deconstructed is another expression they enjoy.
Oh dear.
Oh, I love that. Any sweet. So any kind of, is it sort of, the kind of thing I'd see in an old sweet shop? You can just choose your confectionery.
If it makes you feel better, yes, that's exactly what it's like.
Oh, is it not that? No, I don't want to know.
It's not like there's jars on the back.
I like it. It's like an old kind of, like an old apothecary style shop.
You don't get like blackjack.
Like
Wambars.
I was thinking more like sherbet lemons.
It's actually a sweet shop that just happens to have a deep fryer.
It's like,
fryer into it. Yes,
it's like a Dickensian sort of.
We
have
communal deep fat fryers everywhere in Scotland. You know how most people have public. You know how most places have public water fountains, right? Scotland, it's public fryers.
Oh, it's so cruel. I love Scotland.
Just clarify before they come and beat you with the baseball bats.
If you do ever come and visit me, I'll take you to a chip shop that sells deep fried Mars bars and such.
Oh, there must be. Can't just be the one.
We used to have
what have you yourself partaken, Tailed Feature?
I'll be honest, I've never had a deep fried confectionery at all, ever.
So you're not a true Scotsman, that's what you're saying?
Well, you'll have to look under my kilt to find that.
Hey, we all saw that one coming.
Kind of hard for the bent.
I don't think I can say anything to that, really.
Well, British just sounds embarrassed for some reason.
He shouldn't be. He's transcended sexuality.
Or speechless.
It's difficult when you are a brain in the jar, I suppose.
I think he's trying to work out whether and how to operate the jack in order to lower his jar low enough to see. That's what it is.
It's fine. I can squat over it if you want.
Squat over the jar.
What a view!
But the question is, would I then be guilty of upskirting?
Up kilting. That's what I'm saying. They need to put that clause in that law.
If it's involuntary, then I suppose not.
Is it if the charge is brought pre legislation? I think you're fine.
Don't look up.
But yeah, they need to put that clause in there to be intersectional.
Up kilting.
Up kilting.
Up kilting. Yep.
It's a small. The butter thing. So it says it's a small batch of butter in dough that's then fried. I've only ever seen it in video, but it looks like a crispy hull with a molten center.
Revolting.
The idea of like a molten center of butter.
And
like
this
the
is
idea
an American thing, is it?
This
is from the country that criticizes our cuisine.
Yes. And the idea of just drinking molten butter anyway is just makes me want to reach.
The country that gives you spray on cheese.
Thank you. Yes, precisely.
Spray on. Like tan.
It's multi-purpose, Sarah. Don't be.
It's a deodorant because it blocks all your pores.
like you can take it off at the end of the day. I like that. Oh.
What were we talking about? Oh yes, the cake.
That's not a sandwich.
That's not a sandwich. That's being served on a paper plate.
Well, I think so far none of these have been sandwiches, haven't they?
No,
well,
nothing
really. Lasagna, it is on
the lasandwich.
Yeah.
Well, dear.
So bad.
Bacon and jam.
So there we go.
Yeah, moving on to bacon and jam.
So
Let's see this.
Bacon and jam. There you go. A festive version with turkey, bacon, and cranberry jam. Go on then.
If you put the word festive in it, I'm interested.
Bamble Squatch has given us this gem.
You see, now I'm looking at that and I'm going, yeah, I can maybe see that working, because I remember first trying bacon with sweet bacon, with some syrup and stuff on it, and I was very, very wary before I had it, but it was actually quite nice.
Bacon's actually a bit of a superfood. It goes with pretty much everything. You can even have it with. You can even have it with chocolate.
You can, but
chocolate.
Do you want it?
But you wouldn't.
But you would.
No man who respects himself.
No man who respects himself. But that's not to say that the Americans respect themselves.
Well, that's true.
And they do. They have something like Epic Mealtime, where they've basically they make an enormous 12,000 calorie cake out of chocolate, and then they'll coat the outside of it in bacon because they love doing bacon and everything. But bacon is you can have bacon with a lot of things. And yes, I was surprised that it does go quite well, like doing the sweet and salty thing with it. So yes. You can actually now buy bacon-flavored jam, which I'm less of a fan of.
That sounds disgusting. I'm very curious as to the next one, which is awful.
Go on.
It's awful. I tell you that just before we move on to that though, like the idea that bacon, I just want us to agree right now that if you cook bacon on a baking tray, you're doing it wrong.
Oh, I always do baking tray.
Oh, Sarah.
Takes off so much of the fat though.
Grill. Every single time. It's got to be on the grill.
Sorry.
Yeah, so the fat actually then just drops off into the tray below.
Mm-hmm. Britisher, does he have no comment on this?
I am just shocked to my core. I'm still trying to get over cranberry jam with bacon.
Cranberry jam. That's not so bad. It's more
or bacon and what was it, honey and whatever you people were talking about. That this
syrup,
just
maple
syrup.
Maple syrup. Yes.
Just I'm sorry, no.
That was what I thought as well, but I have converted.
So bad.
The Britisher consumes most of his food through osmosis, and so what people do
he doesn't cook himself.
No. So, but his maid will cook him bacon bits and then sprinkle them like fish food in the jar.
In the jar.
Yeah.
So the Britisher likes crispy bacon then.
Extra crispy. Yeah.
This is a short story waiting to happen. Could be even a novella.
See, this is more. Yeah, as soon as you get awful, I'm just like, this is probably Scottish.
There we go. Or offal sandwich. Whether it's chopped liver or deep fried brain,
it's not a sandwich.
We don't. It's a
roll.
It's a bap.
That's a crusty roll as well.
I'm not sure whether it isn't actually a full loaf.
I love that most of these are like, oh, you should try it. Oh, you know what? We won't say no. And as soon as you get to the offal one, it's like, we don't care how much of a delicacy it is or how much garlic mayo you've slathered over it. It's just wrong.
Deep fried brain, isn't that faggots?
It's probably, I don't know.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Just wanted to say faggots.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you know what pisses me off more is when they put it in a basket like that.
Yeah, it's so rustic.
Who said that? Haggis on a roll is delicious.
I actually like faggots.
Haggis on a roll.
Haggis is amazing.
Stop laughing at the word faggots, Sarah.
I was laughing at the roll.
Looking at the next one, it seems that someone just got Easter confused.
Oh, Britisher wants to move on from the liver and the brain. Maybe does it hurt, Britisher? I mean, you are a brain in a jar.
This whole thing just is this
experience.
Does it look like cannibalism to you? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it is the brain that seems to be more upsetting of the two. Liver I've had myself, but not cold. Thank you very much.
Liver pate.
These people also, like, the further down we get, the less sandwich we get.
There is nothing sandwichy about that as far as I can tell.
Absolutely nothing.
What's the list though? Best sandwiches you can make, or just interesting?
Oh, 9 controversial sandwiches.
Well.
Yes, I had to literally search the term controversial sandwiches in order to find articles on controversial sandwiches that were worth talking about in the other thing, because Twitter decided that they wanted us to talk about sandwiches this evening.
I mean, that's why I was keen to join.
Mm-hmm. There's no mention of marmalade yet, which is what you were coming on for.
Opportunity to there.
Make a plain omelette with a sprinkling of chocolate powder.
No one does that.
Haven't you actually, when you're preparing an omelette, haven't you actually departed from any plan of wanting to make a sandwich?
It's just plain and simple. At what point do you make your chocolate omelette? And for a start, only make an omelette this size. And then secondly, you go, do you know what?
Again, who knows? Perhaps that's just a massive fork.
It could be a massive fork. Then you say,
the world's largest plate.
What I want next is it's a table. It's just a very large round table, and they're drowning it in.
It's a trough.
It's a trough. It's actually a roll top bath, but you can't tell from this angle. So stick it between bread, and it's problem solved. A deconstructed pancake in a sandwich.
The problem solved would be putting that in the bin. That's problem solved.
Yeah, that's problem solved. I fucked up my omelette. and now we're moving on.
Now feeding it to the
Well, but
dog.
then again, I'm quite sure that as far as the resident Scot is concerned, that could still be saved. You just
There must be a
batter it
way.
and deep fry it.
Well, possibly, yeah. But I would never do such degeneracy.
Just hear us out. Oh no, I'm not hearing you out. Finding something again. Another breakfast muffin, fried chicken and syrup.
That looks like cheese to me.
It doesn't look like syrup.
It does not look like syrup at all. It says I'm definitely missing some syrup. So if they haven't been able to make or find someone who's actually created this sandwich. They've just
actually, we're
inferred.
still quite far removed from the entire idea of bread here, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are indeed.
This is just false advertising right from the get-go.
Oh dear. The first couple of bites are the best thing you've eaten, while any more will lead to tummy regrets for the rest of the day. Why do I get... Is this entire thing written by an Activia advocate who goes, I have one yogurt and I feel so bloated, but with one Activia I can just be smooth once again.
Who's ever been bloated after a yogurt?
Yeah, what kind of yogurt are you eating? Actually, don't do that.
Then again, who's to say it isn't a Yakult
Hey.
pusher?
Bit
to
of product
say-
placement.
Yeah, who are you? Who is this? How you've got around the? You're not monetized, Britisher. You're actually sponsored now.
Say
Yeah,
you want
come
to
on,
buy
I
Yakult.
don't know.
Are you going to start singing like the
the
yacht
end-
song?
Yeah, at the end of every the week that was, the British has to go down on.
Oh Lord.
Oh grief!
I made myself laugh there.
I'm laughing at you laughing.
Oh dear! It's infectious.
Just the notion of the British are well singing anything really,
Selling
but,
out.
but yeah, really selling out. And
If you're gonna do it, not to a yogurt, I mean. So undignified.
It's just sort of, it's the only thing that Britisher can eat. You have to pour it directly in, but obviously
Oh.
it floats on top of the saline solution,
Congeals.
so they have to push it down. So they slather it all over his
Well,
brain.
there's some bacon bits in there.
There's some bacon bits and Dannon yogurt.
just,
If anyone has any artistic ability in chat whatsoever, I will
just see
pay
this.
you £10 for an image of the British's brain slathered in yogurt and covered in bacon bits.
In a jar.
with a whisk. With a whisk.
With a whisk. Potentially the sandwich.
The whisk, the limp celery, and the flying helmet.
Just yeah.
I love
that-
how this
Have I
has
lost
started.
you there?
This has started a comment war about whether or not Actimel is better than Dannon.
I like how I basically didn't say anything during the Kavanaugh stuff, but as soon as we're onto stupid stuff, I'm all over that stuff.
Oh,
I love how much you made yourself laugh and you're not even ashamed to see it.
So it's just the
I really
premise.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, the premise is just
Yes,
I'm
I can just see
gonna
myself
copyright that.
finishing the week that was with the words, that's all from the Sabbath Pass for now. And remember, it's finger licking good.
Please do that.
Please do
Please
that.
just do it, and no one else will get the joke, but we will. that would be that. That would be enough. And there'll be some people in the comments who actually make the comment and connection, and we'll know where the audience crossover is. Right
Cross fertilization.
there. And then we wait until your entire video gets stolen by KFC for like copyright or whatever it is. Oh dear.
From one kernel to another.
Right, given we've gone through this entire article and worked out that they have not, apart from one, they haven't used the correct ingredients for a sandwich. Just in terms of the bread, right? This entire thing. The last one is using waffles instead of bread as the bread.
What's inside of it?
It looks like chicken, egg, or hash brown. That thing.
So see if that was bird's eye potato waffles, that would be quite good.
Actually, not bad point, yeah.
Bird's eye potato waffles.
I haven't had
Yeah.
them.
It couldn't
since
just
school.
be any
Oh,
potato
like-
waffles. It would have to be
Three bird's eye.
Bird's eye.
Specifically-
potato waffles.
Uh-huh.
Waffly versatile.
There we
Sorry.
go.
Please,
Britisher.
yes, there you go.
Oh
Yes,
my!
I
We
remember
couldn't,
those adverts.
we couldn't get Tailed Feature to sing on stream, but the Britisher will sing, and we all know what his favourite song is now.
How undignified.
Just as jingles at the drop of a
Oh. Kundathunt in chat, and I'm so
Sorry,
glad
what?
I'm so glad I said that name correctly. Has said KFC Double Downs. Anyone? Do you know what KFC Double Down is, Britisher?
I am glad to say I don't.
Let's let me just find.
I
this.
don't know that.
I was going to say it's another man who likes, well, assuming it's a man who likes his spoonerisms in the chat. Kunderthon.
This is a KFC Double Down.
Well, I repeat what I asked earlier. What is wrong with people?
It's 2 boneless fillets with stuff in between because they wanted to get.
I would eat
bacon
in
in between. Yes, let's point out the bacon again. Yes,
I would eat that.
You would eat this.
I would eat that. Yeah.
Of course you would, you degenerate.
Yeah.
With a knife and fork, or?
Well.
Would you eat it as a sandwich? Should be eaten.
Well, that's a very good question. Probably just with my bare hands.
You have bare hands?
I have other hands as well. Just.
Do you have frog hands?
Frog hands?
I have clock hands.
The show comment man says, "Can we get the Britisher to star in Tailed Feature's next song?
I'd love that.
Can we get a cameo at some point?"
That'd be great.
I'll my next song will be a cover of the Monster Mash. I'll get the Britisher to sing.
That would be
great.
amazing.
It'd be like when William Shatner did Common People or something.
Starman, yeah. Oh.
Yes, I can just basically sort of sit here comfortably with the microphone and just go, I did it my way.
Yes, basically. I like to that entire article was basically postmodern sandwiches, wasn't it? Frankfurt School. Frankfurter School.
There are no sandwiches of colour, I noticed.
The sandwiches of colour? You mean with brown bread?
I noticed.
What you're saying is you require more diversity.
I think they were pretty diverse, let's be honest.
I don't like diversity.
If this is what diversity gives us, then no. We need to go back.
I'd love if that was completely true, Sarah, and you wore exactly the same thing every day. You had exactly the same meals every day. You walked exactly the same routes every day. Like, you don't do diversity. There is no diversification of anything in your life. Yeah.
Well, I mean, all right.
Sorry.
If this is what multiculturalism has brought us, we need to reinstate
Like,
it.
See multiculturalism again?
We got more.
Quite get that out, could you?
Say the word, Tailed Feature.
I enjoyed
that?
that. You
Say
couldn't quite get that out, could
multiculturalism.
you?
Multiculturalism. Multiculturalism. There we go.
Culturalism.
I was trying to make it.
Culturalism.
I was about to dox myself there. I was about to say exactly where I was, like with my accent. But yeah.
I think most people have worked that out by now.
I think
cultural.
I think if you were to do those things I described, Sarah, you'd be like the reactionary movement to. It's like you have to go to an extreme level to avoid diversity, as opposed to like letting it in. Like this is the cultural.
I mean, I like a routine, if that's what you're asking.
The cultural revolution has to be that people react.
It's a logical extreme, isn't it, of anti-diversity?
Well, as long as it's bread.
Multiculturalism, says Red King.
Multiculturalism.
You just said it with confidence.
Just got to get those glottal stops in there, right?
Glottal. The Britisher should release a Christmas album.
Oh, I'd say by that.
Can you imagine? Yeah. I bet he sounds like oh, this is his name, Richard.
Branson.
Cliff Richard.
What, like the Millennium Prayer?
Very Christian, very proper. Like
going to be more of a Bing Crosby.
Mr. Prim and Proper, yes.
It'd be more of a Bing Crosby, but.
I remember he was getting like, because you know he was accused amongst all this these stars of like pedophilia, etc. Cliff Richard,
What,
and then no, the Britisher is not Cliff Richard. Oh, wait a second.
Well, we don't know that. I've never seen him. I've never seen
when he says he doesn't. When he says he doesn't live anywhere, does he live on a palatial estate that may as well be its own county? Because that may well
its own island.
Oh dear, they're on to me.
I bet he lives in Wales as well. That'd be horrendous.
So
Well, he does say, yeah.
Spite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please stand by says, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
That's because I said Bing Crosby.
Yes.
White.
Britisher needs to do his sponsorship in a full German accent. Entirely possible. I mean, you do quite a passable German accent, don't you, Britisher?
Well, I was concentrating on an Austrian accent when I was for some reason I had problems with my accent, with my throat in general, when Ray was last on the Academic Agents channel. I don't know why that was.
No possible reason whatsoever. Saxo Grammaticus says AA and Britisher should do the Drummer Boy song together.
What, the David Bowie and Bing Crosby version?
Yeah. Oh dear. It's below the belt, apparently, comparing Britisher to Cliff Richard. And apparently he's a prick, says Liberal Zardos.
He has been investigated quite a number of times, isn't he?
I've never known him to be a bit of a prick, though. Like, he's never...
Well.
Anyway. This is a new article on a different sandwich, which says a hot dog is not a sandwich.
Correct.
But it's saying, according to our 4-point test, right, and this is where the controversy comes in, cheeseburgers and Oreos qualify. Oreos qualify.
Wait, you mean independently or together?
Hot dogs do not. No, I think cheeseburgers by themselves, Oreos by themselves. Apparently, this is the 4-point test. Yes, just Sarah, just no. Exterior pieces tick, carb base tick, portable tick, horizontal orientation. No, that's the only thing that prevents a hot dog from being a sandwich.
What if you stood it on its end? Vertical orientation.
You would try, wouldn't you?
I like that you even asked that.
Every once in a while, with a regularity that is astounding and reassuring, Americans gather together to raise their voices, lock their eyes, and engage in a passionate, high-stakes debate about whether a hot dog is a sandwich.
That is their First Amendment right. So
it's the first. Is that the 15th Amendment right there to argue about sandwiches?
Yeah.
It's the same sort of question as if cereal is soup.
Is cereal? Oh my goodness, cereal is croutons, but milk is milk soup, and milk is not soup. So cereal is neither. So take that. I love that.
But you get like a cream of tomato and stuff, so it has kind of dairy stuff in it. So I've had these arguments before. I mean, it's more of a philosophical standpoint than a genuine sort of question, but it's interesting nonetheless, if pointless.
The metaphysics of soup. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
The grief. I just like you people. Disgust me.
Says the one who is making us talk about articles about the most preposterous sandwiches.
Why do you think people watch this show, man? Why do you think people aren't here for Brett Kavanaugh? They can get all the political commentary they want. They want to know what, sort of two British guys, a British girl, and a tailed feature.
Am I not British then?
No, you're something all of your own.
Oh well, that was diplomatic of you.
I know how you vote, you animal.
No, I'm sorry, he's British.
We decided against my will that I am actually British.
Fair enough.
Well, I'm afraid history is on our side.
Yeah,
because just as a geographical feature, it's known as the British Isles.
That's true,
and it's been known so since the Romans.
Yeah,
those damn Romans.
So there you go.
Coming in here, building them roads.
Well, by that token, then we're all European.
True.
Look, Sarah, you're supposed to love Europe and hate the EU, not just balk at the idea of Europeanism.
Or bulk.
It's not bulk. It's not bulk. It's pronounced B-A-L-K. Pronounce it. It's not. Yeah, bulk.
No, but she bulked though because she went.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Fine.
What do you think bulk is? Like to retch? What?
I'm gonna have to look this up now, right? I've been using this word my entire life.
you moron.
I know that balk is
I can just see you at 3 years old saying, "Oh, I balk at that."
Balk.
Yeah, you balk at something, but
To
something
be
can make
unwilling to accept an idea or undertaking. There you go.
Oh, you mean I object, I resist.
He balked at such a drastic solution. To eschew, to resist, to refuse.
I was just talking about base visceral vomit.
Yes, I know. I know what you're talking about. Don't you tell me my English is
now I've told you.
I did not know the word boke, I will admit.
Yeah.
I'd never heard that one before.
That's because it's Scottish.
Balk.
And you're uncultured.
I've had
You're uncultured.
I've had acquaintances who are from Scotland.
No, I think what Not So Obvious is saying is he won't have multiculturalism imposed upon him.
No, I won't.
Good for you, man.
Absolutely.
Neither will I. That's why I voted to. No, it's not.
We're not European. This is a myth propagated to make the idea of the EU more palatable. We've never been European. I mean, we're not continental. No, we are our own. Yes, certainly. Apart from the Britisher, who is a
people of
falsehood.
Iceland are actually European.
Are they?
And to the person that said Scotland isn't a culture, it's a satanic cult. No, it's a disability. Get it right.
Satanic cults are cool, though.
Like Satan would have you.
Satan's scared of us.
What was it? I'm reminded of the offensive Scottish comedian
Frankie Boyle.
Frankie Boyle, thank you very much. Of one of his live shows where he was basically like, we could dig a hole so deep. Like, I think he was talking about Theresa May at the time. And he was like, if you just gave us every man in Scotland a shovel, we'd dig a hole so deep we could hand her off to Satan ourselves.
I think it was Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, it might have been Margaret Thatcher. And he might have adapted the joke later on.
Maybe, yeah.
He's all remixing his own content.
Because he said that the Margaret Thatcher's funeral, it was the first time that the 21 gun salute was fired into the coffin.
Oh, that's brilliant. Formerly offensive comedian, yes, he's gone full social justice now.
Well, he's always been like that in his columns, but
yeah.
I don't know if he even still does live stuff. To be honest with
you, I find his column he doesn't. I find his columns to be amusing, but I don't read them anymore because there's just nothing of substance in there whatsoever.
Yeah. Who cares what a guy who looks like the bear out of fucking Bo Selector has to say?
I have not seen Bo Selector in a long time, but even
that's because it's not existed for a very long time. Thank goodness.
I can't ever unsee Michael Jackson's Cribs episode where he's talking about like this guy who loves spoons in his house, and he's just like crazy spoon loving motherfucker, and it's just like that. Now that you see my crib, don't you go stealing my stuff. I'll kill you. It's like, okay, thanks, MJ.
That was so bizarre. That film.
Oh, it's so bizarre. And Craig David and his fat pet falcon Falky. Like it was. Just
was he not called Kez? Was it not? I think it was a joke. I think it was a joke about that film.
I have no idea.
Because for some reason, his version of Craig David was Northern.
And doesn't he meets Michael Jackson in one of the episodes as well, like in his hotel. Like he's Michael Jackson's just going up and down the corridor, riding on like the
scooter.
On the scooter, my scooter.
Yeah. It's like, take my bad self on my scooter.
Shamon,
motherfucker.
I don't just look like Peter Pan. I am Peter Pan. Through the skydive. Anyway, Craig David. No, like I love that Britisher is silent, having never seen an episode of Bo Selector and having no idea.
Far too modern for him.
Oh dear.
20 years old.
Did you ever watch Bo Selector, Sarah?
Yeah, I just hated it.
Yeah, I hated it as well, but
yeah. Now you backtrack, sir. Now you backtrack.
No,
don't retract your scooter.
I'm not retracting my scooter.
That was horrendous.
I couldn't stand most of Bo Selector, but my mate would send me the only funny sketches from it, and that was generally it. And everyone remembers the theme music, of course.
I I don't know.
Does
Remind me.
everyone?
I can't.
Does everyone?
I can't actually remember the theme tune.
I am not going to sing a rendition of the theme music.
Oh, come on,
Well, I
yes.
didn't remember it unless you do.
So no, maybe afterwards in private. Maybe we'll see.
Oh, that's weird. I don't like that.
What, the idea of me singing to
So
the
what you're
group?
actually
In
saying is
private,
that
it's
later in private you plan on serenading us.
Maybe not.
I don't want to be
Probably
there.
not. Maybe
Oh.
I'll link it. But
Sarah have to make sandwiches.
might be. Anyways,
Actual sandwiches.
there's no more sandwich talk. We have come to the end of the content for the evening.
I think we came to the end of the content long ago.
Hey, no one ever said it was quality. This stream
Close to the end.
this stream deals with the hard-hitting issues at the heart of British culture. I'll have you know, such as whether or not waffle is an appropriate sandwich. Sort of out exterior. I don't know the layers of
Exterior.
waffle. So proper crimbo, says Tailed Feature in chat. Oh, you're here. Why didn't you just say it?
Well, because someone said, "Don't make me remember that bastard Christmas song they released, please." So I just had to mention it.
God.
No.
Dear. Anyways, thank you all for joining me this evening. As usual, it's been a pleasure. And until next time, this has been Fake Exits Unite. Thank you very much for joining me, Britisher.
Toodle pip.
Tailed Feature.
Aikiva.
And Sarah.
Goodbye.
Take care, everybody. Good night.
Yeah. Bye.